And we're live. So, good evening, all. Welcome to TFC Open Mic. This is Season 3, Episode 45. Titled this one, quite straightforward. It's a Brave New World. And it probably will be tomorrow. Simply because tomorrow, obviously, is the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War. So, literally, the guns fell silent at 11 a.m. Okay, 100 years ago tomorrow. So I hope everybody around the globe really marks that fittingly, because obviously that was a change globally for everybody. And being in the military myself, then clearly for me it's quite poignant. And as are several other community, because I know quite a few people have served and are currently serving. Anyway, onwards and upwards. So let's look to today. First of all and foremost, firstly, hi to the panel. Who we got? Agni, welcome, mate. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How's everyone doing?
Yeah. You've done a bit of the preview, haven't you, mate? To be honest, you still doing it, or is it finished now? If it's over, isn't it? The one that we just got in, the last little bit.
Probably. I haven't checked.
Yeah, there was a third one. I mean, there was a closed one, an open one, a closed one, sort of stuff. So they just wanted to check a couple of stats on the third one, which we had a little look at. I didn't actually notice anything much to the second one, to be honest, apart from there's a couple of mistakes on some of the tier 6 holes, but they are addressing that now. But the open one that we did, and we did a live stream as well, and that sort of stuff, and there's been some videos, etc., and some good chats about it as well. So the flavour of what's coming is there. But obviously, let's see what they actually bring out, which is next Tuesday. Hefe, how are you, mate?
Oh, I'm doing okay.
Good, mate, good. You managed to get into that preview, didn't you, mate? The middle one in the week? Did you get? No, you didn't, mate. Sore point, I know. I thought I'd bring it up, mate. Yeah. Bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah.
Bit political, bit odd, bit foolhardy, I think. Seeing as you run the other main show that we've got here now, I was quite disappointed myself that you weren't allowed in it. Like I said, a bit political, but I also think a little bit short-sighted. That's my personal view. Okay, Kickside, take it how you want. Don't care, but I think you made a mistake. Nick, how are you, mate?
I'm all right, sir. I think.
Yeah. Nick's always vocal. He's on here tonight because he wants to discuss something as well, which I think is also a very foolish move. And another event that's going to come up this month, which we don't need, but hey, they're chucking it in anyway. Right. Here's a little trouble. Simba, hello, young lady.
I'm all right.
You okay?
Yep.
You've had some fun hopping around different, I won't say worlds, because it's more like sectors, isn't it, to be honest?
It is.
Yeah, so we only got the 1 to 100, haven't we? So, but you had some fun using up your free jumps this week.
Yep.
Visiting old friends, that stuff. It's not bad, because it was like every 10 minutes at one stage. You could just jump here, jump there. Yeah, crazy. I had Alpha Wolf jump in, literally, and I went, oh, look, there's Alpha over there. Ford's here. And all of a sudden, he went again. So it was like, that was a flying visit. I think maybe just trying to sort themselves out where they need to be. But yeah, an interesting week. And Venom's in. Hey, mate, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good, mate. You sound depressed.
We'll get there eventually. Say why.
We'll get there, or yeah, okay, yeah. Right, I'll do a couple of slides as ever, just to keep things on track. I'm not so necessarily going to read them all out, but at least it'll give us some pointers as to what we're going to discuss. So, which is not exactly hard to work out. It's been a busy week, isn't it? This week in the game. Ah, dear. And I'm not tied on my arm or my wrist, and remember to say something at the end. But anyway, I'll cover something at the end that has just been announced on the page, but that's a different issue. Right, Dragon's Lair, the raid review. How do we find the raid? Second one of the series. What do we think, guys? Anybody want to lead off? Anybody struggle massively? Anybody find the targets were ridiculous? I did personally. Tier 8, I hated them. Preview stream, the warm-up stream I do, that sort of stuff. They set the benchmark of the damage, the new targets were in there, shows a bit of paving and that sort of stuff. Great, thank you very much. Log off for an hour. I come back out 4 hours later, and all of a sudden, everyone's dying. It's just like, what's going on? I even have to drop down to tier 6 stuff and tier 7 stuff, even though I've got a funky fleet. So, god damn annoying.
Can I go?
Yeah, go on, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, the raid, okay, I started off. Did a few targets, got better, got a better path in than that, and I was doing it what I thought was okay. Like you said, a bit later on, the damage was well higher, a lot higher, and that was a bit narking.
Yeah.
So yeah.
What sort of figures did you get, mate, in the end? Did you go down targets? Or did you just keep?
I
Just
know
plugging
exactly
it?
what figures I got because
Go on.
there was a sector I used to hate, which was 434, and I got 434 million.
Exactly.
Well, 434 million and 800,000.
Okay. Yeah. But that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I literally didn't. Like I said, I did the start bit, and then I came back on. And went, well. I mean, I didn't fit as principles. And I sort of mentioned that when I did the warm up. I didn't fit the cormorants in the previous weekend's event because I didn't think you should have had to have done that one there. And going into the tier 8, and all of a sudden my two flagships, on my main account and my alt account, both of them were just like getting annihilated, and all I had was four ships left, and I don't think I'd go and feed the flagship. So then I later on the Saturday, I think it was, I put another video, and that was just with 4 cormorants on it and a couple of the Gale 4s. Don't know if I need those or not. And Catamish load of 4 just on one ship. And all of a sudden, the fleet was balanced again, and I was doing okay. I'm not saying damage across the fleet wasn't too high, because it was, but I still managed to get 2 complete sets out, and with an even damage across all 5 ships. So proving a fact to me, as far as I'm concerned, that was a must-do event and not a nice-to-do event. Is frustrating. That's my gut feeling, but I don't like extra events when it's supposed to be a 3-raid cycle, and all of a sudden we're chucking another event on us. And it's every goddamn weekend. But hey, that's my thought. Darren, I'll just say welcome, mate. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, mate. Yeah, I know. Is this first time on for you, or have you been on before?
First time.
Hey, well, welcome, buddy. Welcome. How was your raid? Any thoughts on how it's going?
Fairly easy, like always.
Okay, cool. What sort of fleets are you running, buddy?
Just the Razor.
You went Razors, okay. So,
yep.
Have you added any of the new specials from obviously in the Ghoster weekend, or?
Yeah, I'm just adding the new Wave Rider right now.
All right, yeah, from the FM, yeah, to the flagship.
Yep.
Yeah, another. I mean, I don't mind things like that. A small escalation item, but limited down to one particular ship. It's a bit odd, isn't it? So,
a little. Yeah.
They do some strange, quirky things at the moment. There's lots of limited this and limited that, and special this and special that. It's just chasing numbers as ever. But yeah. Hefe, what did you get to in the raid, mate? I can't remember what you said last time we had a chat.
I think it was right around 300K, plus or minus.
All
I
right.
forget, it's been a while, but yeah, it was fine. I mean, I didn't, like we talked about last Saturday, nobody appreciated the escalation that seemed to have taken account the, as you mentioned, the Flying Dutchman event prizes, technology. But it was an easy out. If you had the bat rays, you could do the 100s, and if you had the razor tail, you could do the 102 for. It was instant in my base. It was like 8 to 10 minutes of damage on the map for each target. So it was, wasn't that difficult as long as those targets were available to you. And you had the flagship or a full fleet. But yeah, it wasn't bad. I mean, I didn't, like we talked about last week, didn't appreciate the bump in damage, but there was workaround.
Yeah, and as we mentioned in the sidebar chat, I think actually the sweet spot was actually for individuals that had the proto tides, which they built for the SSRBs. That they were doing great in the 60s, and it was like instant on the map. If you were, I mean, it was like 1 in 10, I think, because I was also using the BP app as well. 1 in 10, you would go over the 5 minutes damage, But apart from that, they were all instant on the water. So I was quite pleased. That I found something other than hitting SSRBs that are used for that ship, so that fleet. Sorry, so quite good in there. Did anybody not get what they wanted? Just out of interest on the panel, did anybody not get the points they were hoping for because of any particular reason? I mean, I didn't go full out myself. I must admit, I looked at it and I saw the damage. And I was like, right, okay, I'll just look for the bare minimum what's required. I suppose the only thing I could say is this week with the TLC, obviously that's there, that gives you those 3 skirmisher tokens in the last round. You can fit 4 cormorants and a couple of gales and change one of the specials to the cat measure loader, and actually you can use it within those three tokens. So it's not too bad. I didn't actually have to pay for the change when I did it because I had the skirmisher ones from last time, so it wasn't horrendous. Aussie's in. Hello, mate. How are you? You got your mic
out yet?
Yeah, Aussie, you awake, mate? I know Liv's coming on the show. But...
Good morning. How are you?
Hello, mate. How are you? You all right?
Good evening.
Hey, Ozzy.
He always gets up nice and early. It's good for you, mate.
Yeah, I'm awake. Just.
Good to see you, bud. You're right. Yeah, so look, a few people have said about the raid and that sort of stuff, and we don't need to go in the whole line. But yeah, generally, you know, the 100, the low-level targets from the previous month were nice and balanced, and we were used to those. And the sort of new tier 8 ones, I think, were a little bit funky, more damage and that sort of stuff. And to be honest, I didn't really want to do them, to be honest. So I just did them last thing at night and then just fixed overnight. So apart from that was it. You know, raid comes, raid goes, and prize pool was there, wasn't it? To be honest, it wasn't overly exciting, but won't be the case for next month, though, will it? Because they'll be on to the new ship for the new Siege series, so that will be interesting. Wonder what sort of targets. So it should go up again, shouldn't it? To be honest, because we obviously have had 104, 106, so it should be 108 and something rather, shouldn't it? So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Right, moving on. This was the prize, Proto Apollo. Who's ranking them and having fun this weekend in VXP? Geek God, they're expensive, aren't they? What do you reckon? Who's got them, first of all? Who's built 5 blanks?
Snoopy's built 6, it sounds like.
I haven't touched the shell they gave me.
I've built 3. I built 3 blanks and got the free one.
I was going to say he's firing blanks then, but I didn't.
I put them out. Silver salty. Killed them. Logged
12
off.
and a half hours, logged off.
Came back. Well, I've only got the 4 altogether, so it's 10 hours. Came back again later. Another silver salty. Killed them. Logged off. And I've done them for the 3rd time tonight and logged off.
That's me as well, mate. Exactly that. I've got 3. I'm up to 60. Is it 66% or something? You get up to, anyway, you can get up to the 60 or I think it's 60%, isn't it? That you can get up to. So I've done one for the 3rd time. I'll get one more in with the 100s, and that's it. And then I'm not even going to do anything to them apart from fitting some missiles in slow time, and probably put an engine on, which is a good idea because I haven't got that on yet. And they're super slow without an engine on. I know they have the build-up speed, but you know, with no engine, it's not good at all. But yeah, they are not cheap, are they? Flipping it, 12 and a half hours with no armor for a 5 ship, something like that. Wow, there's no way I'm coining fixing it. I'm not coining at all at the moment, to be honest, because I'm waiting to see what happens with refactor. But yeah, so there's no way I'm freaking coining them. Say again, mate.
I think there's a big fatal flaw with the you know, you're both complaining about the 12-hour repair with the way they're running VXP weekends at this point, where I took my Proto Apollo, and because it was so cheap, I was putting Maelstrom 4s on them to do explosive damage because they seem immune to missile damage. And I don't think that I got anything out of it. I think the ship deflection on them didn't even buy me really the offensive points that I should get related to the XP. So there's really no strategy associated with this besides suicide fleets. So it's I think they need to do something, because I'm afraid of next VXP weekend, which is Siege, which historically only provides VXP for damage received. Ever since there was there was an 85 Reaver target that you could hit that would give you some for certain parts of that target. But yeah, that's mind numbing, and it's not players first. It's not enjoyable. It's yeah, I'm not a big fan of the fact that, you know, they put this Proto Apollo out there that can't do damage to these fleets and ask everybody to level them up that way. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well, I don't know if we're still doing players first, are we? I thought that left the building.
Well, I think they probably planned the Proto Apollo and this target during that time frame.
Yeah, they're probably right. Actually, you know, I'm playing on words, but you know, it's yeah, it's interesting. You know, I'm quite surprised. You know, I suppose I can't remember when I actually did the Proto Tides. You know, what their, you know, death. I mean, it's go in the target, die, and then go back, and then they, you know, you're supposed to coin it. Well, I'm not even doing that, so that's just not happening. You know, I don't mind building them, but I'll build them with no armor whatsoever, and then finish them off hopefully next month. But they're going to be a slow build. You know, they're 16 days for a half decent one. You know, and there's 5 there across the fleet, so that's a lot of days. You know, a heck of a lot of commitment, and refactoring is about to happen. I really think if you like your PvP, you're going to want to use both shipyards for that. You're going to need to use both shipyards for that, because you're going to need to use your defense fleet as well as attacking fleets, and also you've got to do some base work as well. So it's going to be a busy time next week. I don't think you have much time to be messing around with these things, to be honest. I mean, sidebar chat, someone just said they've coined 4 of them. Oh, they know someone that coined 4 of them. Well, people always do that, but I think this will probably be a fleet that I've collected. Thank you very much, and I'll probably never build, or if I do, it won't be till the new year. So I know SSRBs don't go away, and this one's only just arrived. You know, in fact, it's not even arrived in the game yet, but there's a lot to happen.
Why hasn't it? Because normally they would provide the SSRB in order to encourage players to coin them.
Yeah, maybe it's next week in the refactor. Yeah, maybe it's next week. I don't know, mate, to be honest. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, nobody's really mentioned them in months.
Because you'd think it'd be out. Because I mean, last time we did it, we came out as soon as the hull was out. Then what do? We went straight in it, and people were then trying to smash out, you know, the Tide one with like 2 sets of, or the Siege one particularly, you know, with 2 sets of Buckies, and then realizing that was a horrendous, and then going into, you know, I remember doing that video. I managed to just get one done in time using Hydras after we worked out a path. But you know, and I'm surprised someone with Manticores hasn't already had the opportunity, but it's hard to have the opportunity because the SSRB isn't out yet. So it's you know, I don't know. We'll see. But I don't know. I don't know if I was surprised or something. But 12.5 hours, was it? Who built sidebar chat, guys? Has anybody built when you built your tides, the proto tides? Was it the same? I don't know. It just seems exceptionally long this time. Or is it because of the resistances or built-in armor or whatever it is? I don't know. It does seem awful. I don't know. Thoughts, anybody? Are you going to rush out with these ships? I don't think I really want to, personally. But you tell me what you think.
There's a serious lack of confidence in the effectiveness of this hull since the previous proto hulls have been rather dull.
Yeah. Now, if the only thing I can say is, I suppose, because I mean, the world map targets and the SSRB targets in general aren't of the same construction. The damage types are slightly different, the deflections are slightly different, that sort of stuff, you know. And we've noticed that when obviously we try and put proto tides into some of the raid series targets that are here, it just doesn't work, you know, apart from the real baby ones. Now, I suppose the Proto Apollo will be the same concept. You might be able to hit, you know, some of the Manti ones in the water, or have they done it so that you can actually go out and smash the ones on the water as well? I don't really know, because obviously I haven't seen anybody attacking them apart from that really bizarre little video we saw that Kix put out. But obviously it was supposed to be apples for apples, but it wasn't quite. It did mention SSRB on the video, but I wasn't sure if that was a preview sneak of the SSRB, but it didn't look like it. So I don't know. We'll see. I just think it's going to take most people quite some time, unless you are a super coiner, to get these out, and we might sort of miss the boat if we aren't careful. Like I said, you know, base fleets to sort out, PvP fleets to sort out, and then we're changing to siege straight after. So there's a lot to do in the shipyards and you know, the huggy yard as well. But anyway, it's yeah. Right, go on, mate.
Yeah, Mark, I see, like, if these Proto Apollos are given to us now and they do not come up with the SSRBs, I think it's a good thing. They've given us the hull in advance, and I would like to think of it that way, that even if they came up with the SSRB probably a month later or 2 months later, I'm pretty okay with it. Because as you guys discussed, right now the main focus will be using both shipyards to balance out PvP hulls, whether with a refit reduction or a build reduction or both. So
yeah, that's valid. Yeah.
If the SSRBs, like the wing for the Proto Apollos, are kept for later, I'll pretty much welcome that. It gives me more time to slow build or, you know, part build on them with either tokens or, you know, however that may be.
So what I'm intrigued on is obviously we're going into the next cycle, which is siege, and obviously we've got this, you know, we've got the Proto Centurion, that sort of stuff. What the target's going to be like, that's going to come out in the raid, and will the Proto Sense be actually the 60s and that sort of stuff. You know, some people turn around and go, you know what, I'm not going to build a siege fleet. I'm just going to hit 60s for the whole series. You know, because the Proto Tide works in the 60s, why wouldn't the Proto Centurion do the same sort of thing, you know, for the siege series? So I don't know. We're in a conundrum at the moment, aren't we? Not sure what
It's
people.
like the transition. We went from the Cannoneer to the Bucks, and then from the Bucks to the Proto Centurion. There's always been some mechanic which is put the previous hull on a back burner But yes, the lower end targets would be, like you could auto them. You do have the choice to auto them, or well, just ignore it and go forward with the next out. But the key factor remains the points you need in each target or each component in the raid. By autoing like 60, it's almost uphill task, but I've known people who've got like 17, 20 million in a raid just by hitting the lower targets, which is like, I tip my hat off to someone like that who's got the seat time and the patience, because the key issue is seat time. That is where people lose out, because we don't have the seat times to sit through a raid whereby you can grind.
Well, we used to. That's because the seat time was a single event once a month and that sort of stuff. Another seat time is, look at last month, is
exactly
seat time for every weekend. And people just don't. You've got to have a life. You can't sit in front of a computer for 8 days. Basically, that's what they want you to do. It's ridiculous, and that's just choring away,
Exactly. You're getting like, say, an hour's time in a day. Be very practical. Like someone's working a job, you might get an hour's time a day with family stuff to do. But then again, it's a choice. With the chores, I am trying to limit it down to as less. Like half the time, I'm not even close to having 50% of any of the resources, but I'm all right with that. It's just the OCD kicks in, and some people need to have everything filled up. Some do need it. Right now, apart from rolling for crew uranium, I do not need base parts. There's going to be a mad rush for a couple of days.
It's going to be
changes
crazy
to be made.
Yeah.
Titanium, yes, that is another part which is not a must-have. I can keep filling up a bit, once a while, and I'm pretty okay with it. So I've managed to adapt my gaming for the chores in that way. FM, most of the FMs, I don't end up getting all the prizes. And
no,
I don't want them.
I've stopped it as well, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. First day I get on, I hammer it till the fleet is almost dead. That is dragons. If you do not have dragons, well, too bad. You're supposed to have even a couple of dragons. If you can't get that done by now, it's going to be a tough ask. With icebreakers, I know a lot of people who are still working icebreakers, and they do just fine. It's going to take more time.
Yeah.
We've even had people who have the time but didn't have the tech or didn't have the dragons builders to build a tank Greta and use with monoliths, and they're getting 600k pop. Hitting one target with the Greta and monoliths takes time, but if you have to hit 4 targets to get that same point with icebreakers, you are saving time. So it's just smart choices to make. That's the only way I'm surviving, because of the lack of time to put into the game.
Yeah, it is. I must admit, I'm doing, and I think the saving grace for a lot of people as well has been the BP app, and I do promote it quite heavily, simply because, if you do want to tip away some of those chores, if you literally have got 5 minutes, you can just go on there and just go. I mean, if we can get rid of sniping altogether, it'd be great, but you can literally, if you're in an area that's not a bother, you can take out like a set of icebreakers and you can go and hit a 111, that sort of stuff, and then put it back in the dock, and it's nearly, not quite, but nearly instant fix. I mean, mine was like 9 minutes. So it's not too bad, and it just helps you chip away. Do that 3 or 4 times a day, and it gets you up there for another 600k. There's not a huge rush, but and some people like doing it that way all the time. Sitting on the sofa watching television and just doing that, rather than sitting in front of a computer and being completely antisocial. At least you're in the same room with other people. So it's it's interesting. But anyway, come on, let's move on. Let's talk about one of the main things for tonight. Then sector consolidation. It happened this week. Didn't happen how we thought it was going to happen. Oh no, that's not right. I suppose they gave a flavor of, for us. Okay, so my home base where I was spawned when I first started, nearly 8 years ago now, or is it close to 8 years? Can't be far off anyway. Was 217. So when they made up the sectors and that sort of stuff. So 217 was supposed to be in the same world as the other 5 odd sort of like 217, and it was going to be I think it was 237, and then 257, and then I think it was 77, something like that. Anyway, 297, that was it. And we ended up in 57, which is a bit bizarre, really. How do you think it's gone? Have you ended up where you've wanted to go? Have you managed to move around a lot? And that's a list of things that we had initially as issues, and I think most have been resolved. So open up to you guys. What do you think? Somebody start.
I've been afraid to try to move.
You have?
Why is that?
I heard some people have been getting
Getting issues.
That's what I heard.
that's
I didn't
what-
have any. I hadn't moved.
The issue that you're referring to, I think that's the one created if you jump to an old bookmark, say right now how Mark explained the sectors.
Right,
If I
that-
had a bookmark to sector 1, then people ended up in limbo with not being able to do anything.
Yeah, that's why they took the sectors, the bookmarks away in the end, didn't they? They cleared them from people's cache basically and got rid of it.
Yeah.
And I noticed as well. I mean, the first thing I did as soon as it happened, I went in and cleared my cache and then took all the background because there was a lot of lag in the first few hours and that sort of stuff. And I think it was like, because it saves a lot of information from the game on your system, and a lot of that is like where people's bases are and what's in those areas and that sort of stuff. So I cleared my cache, and then all of a sudden I went into the game. I was like, holy moly, why am I in 57? I thought I was going to be in 217, and then it sort of made sense. And I think it was actually I think it was Ford that put it up on the page that said, yeah, we're all still in 5 worlds, but the worlds are now just 20 sectors each and that sort of
Yeah, I
stuff.
think like personally with some that I did interact with, for us, like the communication with the Alliance, as long as that was there, it absolutely made no difference to what the number of the sector was to me.
Right.
I must admit, I haven't moved once. My whole alliance moved to 217. It's now renamed itself as 57. But Jim, I don't care. We're roughly in the same place. I know a couple of them have jumped around because I've seen them flash up saying that they've arrived. But I think they're just jostling for like location within the sector. So in general, I think it's been okay. But so yeah, people jumping in and out of the sector has been quite funny, doing visits. And I know definitely that's what young Simba's been doing, isn't it, young lady? You've been doing that, visiting lots of people. So it's been good fun. Ford's doing the same. He's in Sideboard Chat. He's been, like I say, he hopped in literally to our sector and he was gone again in 10 minutes. It was funny. I was like, Ford's there. No, he's not. Yes, he is. It was quite good. Yeah. So I don't know. There's that list of things. What did we have then? So we had the 120 center not targetable in the FN. That was a bit interesting, wasn't it? Don't know what caused that. So you could kill the stuff around the outside, and then obviously the center area that wouldn't die. The retreat button wasn't active sometimes as well. Sector relocation was not showing up properly. Ship stacking was a huge problem in targets. There was a bit of lag as well. I think the biggest thing was what most of the big alliances were that mega ships, you couldn't link them to a nexus. That was slightly frustrating as well.
Is the stacking issue fixed?
I finished my
Mine-
FM
yeah.
this morning and it seemed okay.
Yeah, it seemed all right because I drove my missile manticores in one of the TLC targets, and if there is even a slight stacking issue with that missile fleet, I cannot do the target, and I had no problem whatsoever.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I was doing some titanium. I did some 85s earlier with my missile. I can't remember what it was. Wasn't the Skyfires the other one? Phoenixes. Yeah, and that was okay. They were stacking fine. So, but yeah, there was some huge issues. I saw people on the page, and I was watching a few people in game doing the FM targets, and they were like their dragons were all over the place.
That's where the icebreakers came handy. Don't even look at the target for a while.
Yeah, because you can just order some of the lower targets.
But it was funny seeing the icebreakers split up and align themselves again and split up because of that issue. Seem to like kind of group up together, split up and group back up again. Dragons, I didn't test them on auto as such. While driving, there was stack issues, but certain angles that I was able to adjust to, and it wasn't an issue with me. But I do think that when I tried it, it was just when the sector consolidation had kicked in. Maybe about 20 minutes later, I tried a target. They were trying to hotfix because I was able to target the center because the first one I hit when they said there's a problem was with the Greta and monoliths, and I splashed the center out. Then the next one I tested about 10 minutes later with the Greta and the dragons, and I was able to target the center from certain angles at 12 o'clock, or rather 11 o'clock, not even 12. So I don't know if it was a hot fix being done because some people said they could not do it. And I go by their word because these are everyday players I communicate with.
Yeah, it didn't seem to be everybody because I mean, even on when we communicated it to Kickside and that sort of stuff, and it, not just our page as well, but others, and all of a sudden they went, "Oh no, I'm not having a problem," and they went, "Well, I'm having a problem." So it didn't seem to be everyone across the board, or whether it was the entry point, as you said there, or whether it's the entry
Yeah.
point into the center of it. I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah, it's a certain path that I use in a 120. I guess everyone has a different path. So it could have been the path to entry into the center or the angle of attack. Angle of attack, not so, because people were trying to grind. I saw a couple of them couldn't reach the center. But even after the sector consolidation, I did not find a problem. But it was definitely there because so many people did report it.
Okay, cool. Anybody else have any other issues about the consolidation thing? Did it surprise you? We're down to 100. I mean, do you think it's okay? Do you think it's working?
Yeah, it's
I guess because it was discussed so much that it wasn't really too much of a surprise or, grasping in the dark kind of a thing.
I think a few people were frustrated that their numbers of their sector that they were spawned in. I know someone on the page said to me, I'm trying to get back to sector, I don't know what sort of number was. And I went, that's not your sector anymore. He went, yeah, that's where I was born. I went, yeah, but it's actually an epsilon sector. It's not actually, it's just been amalgamated and that sort of stuff. So you're going to get there, but you're not actually going to know anybody because it's not actually the sector you were born in. He was born in alpha sort of stuff. And he was trying to get back to his original sector. And when it's gone, it's not even a sector that exists anymore,
Just in humor, Mark, that's exactly the point when I say I don't care.
Yeah, that's the thing. Venom, have you found it, mate?
The lag was one of the biggest concerns, I think, with everyone.
Yeah. Venom, you're what?
I was getting annoyed at the leaderboard not showing for certain people. So myself, I couldn't see anyone in my world, but I could see global and sector, which was rather confusing. But other than that, it seemed to go rather well. Jumping around, hitting everyone is always fun.
I know it was a bit annoying to start with megaships where if they were on a nexus that a sector had died off and that sort of stuff. Some of them got stuck in and you couldn't actually, get them. But I think once you jumped again to another location, then obviously the megaship turned up. So initially it was a bit of a, like, I can't use my megaship, I can't get to it sort of stuff, And then obviously we know we couldn't stack them onto any nexuses whatsoever. So, and I think that's all been fixed over this weekend, isn't it?
I wish that would have happened to me.
Yeah, a lot of people on the page actually went, "Oh look, I can't get my Nexus. What a relief!" It was they couldn't find their megaship, But obviously the gantry was still there, sat next to your base. So
the amount of people that had no idea what was going on was truly frightening.
Yeah, I sort of picked up on that on the midweek show. It's like I did sort of like hint that I look at our target figures for the TFC show and the TFC page in general, and Heavy probably the same for himself. I find it approximately about a third of people in the game know what's going on, and 2/3 have no idea. Genuinely,
Yep.
I think that's about it. Because looking at sector comms, the amount of people that came and went, "Why are my comms wrong? I'm in the wrong sector. Why am I not in 217?" And other people were saying, "Why I'm not in 277?" Didn't have a clue this was even coming.
I think every second or third person was coming up with that because most people rely on information from others rather than reading forums. It's because they're not used to, they're lazy. So yes, if you're looking at world chat, in a minute there were like 6-7 people asking as to what's going on with certain mechanics.
Yeah, particularly world chat. Yeah, you're right. I think that was the main one because I had a little glance. I was just seeing which chats were working, that sort of stuff, But I must admit, the sector chat was so irate, and then it was like, hello everybody, sort of like, because of all the amalgamations. I was like, right, I'm going to stick to my alliance chat now for a next day or so because I was like, it's just too much of it going on. So while I went onto the world chat to get a general overview and that sort of stuff, the sector chat was actually busier than the world chat for a change. It was a bit crazy.
I think this has been one aspect that I really have liked over whatever's come out in the past few months or years is this global chat. I think it's really helped the game. Definitely with trolling, attacking, but communication, exchange. This has made a big difference to gaming for many, many people. Being in a dead sector and not being able to communicate, especially because they don't have a tag. With a lot of people that I've spoken over through messages, this global chat has been, I think, a brilliant thing in the game.
No, I totally agree with you. It has transformed it, but it's also helped the people that do sniping and that sort of stuff because they like flaring it up in world chat as well. But however, there's some light at the end of the tunnel on that aspect of the game, at least on the PvP front. But yeah, it's yes, interesting. So are we generally thumbs up for this? For this, do you think it was needed? Do you think, you know? Well, I think it was needed. I think everyone also understands it's needed. But
yeah, I was surprised when it was done relative to some other things, because I assumed that before they did the sector consolidation, they would fix the locator and also deal with the sniping issue prior to consolidating all these people.
I was really hoping that was going to be sorted first. Yeah.
Yeah, because right now I still have to go to another sector to find 120s because the locator is so messed up, even with the condensed grouping. And I moved myself after the consolidation into the center right next to the center tower.
Yeah.
So I was in the smack middle of the sector. Now it's still sending me to the neighboring sector to find 120s, which I find to be ridiculous at this point, because it worked. It used to work.
Yeah, so I've settled to the fact that that's the case now. So in general terms, it sort of sends you at a 45-degree angle. So I just end up following my ship until I go past the next SSRB that happens to have the target, and I stop. You know, if it's like, you know, resource one, that sort of stuff, you know. And the same for doing the raiding, because that was sending you all over the blooming place. And it's just as bad. Like you say, 120 today. One sent me to like a sector and a half away. I was like, you telling me, of all these people in this sector, there's not a 120 around here? I was like, it's ridiculous.
Traveling to a different sector costs time and time on your cruise.
Yeah.
The more cruise you have to roll for, the more you're going to have to hit targets. The more you have to hit targets, the more likely you're going to spend hitting targets.
I mean, I know they say that as well, that, you know, okay, let it settle down, that sort of stuff. But we never used to have this problem. So what's caused it? You know, they need to get to the bottom of what's the root cause of the issue, because it's only been a recent, you know, introduction into the game, isn't it? And recent glitch. It's goddamn annoying. It never used to happen.
Yeah, and also I also noticed during the raid, if I used the raid mechanism to find my targets, it would send me to a different one than using the locator. And the raid, you know, if I go to the, you know, the raid GUI or icon on the left-hand side and pick targets, click on it, it appeared to send me to the closest one. But if I clicked on L and went to the locator and looked for the same target, it would send me somewhere else. So they got part of it right, it appears. So it doesn't seem, I don't know what the issue is, but it doesn't seem insurmountable to fix. Some of it seems to be working correctly.
It's odd as well. Can you imagine if we were in those raid series? You remember the raid series? We used to go and get 50 targets, you know, to get the. I can't remember what it was. You used to get 50 numbers 1 to 50, wasn't it? And then all of a sudden you get like a bonus prize, and then you go on again and get a number 1 to 50. Anybody seen the number 24? Anybody seen the number this or whatever? I can't remember the quantity. It's quite a few years back now, but can you imagine that was happening now? You'd be like in this sector, then that sector. You'd be over the freaking place. It'd be crazy. I know our ships are a lot faster these days, but. You know.
Because I never understood the old map speeds where it would take you hours to go across the sector. But
but also if you're going a sector and a half away to hit a target, half the time by the time it gets there,
someone else has got it. Exactly. Yeah.
So then you click it again. You're going another sector and a half away.
That's happened a lot worse, even just because of consolidation now. You know, when I mean, next week when we all need titanium, we all need uranium and that sort of stuff, and we will start messing with turrets and things. It's going to be a sparse resource. I can see it coming, to be honest, because you're going to have to do a lot of changes next week. If you haven't looked at the preview stream, there's some good videos out there. But yeah,
as it's going to take a while for this the refractor changes to settle down, and I think as I've been telling Alliance or friends, it's like, don't lose your mind over it, because base is going to get smashed. That's the first thing that a few people just absolutely lose their mind. And don't just go click over it. Some people will, because it's that, you know, ego and that competitive nature of the game. That causes
nice transition, Agni. That's good. Yeah. So we'll move on to refactor. Yeah, so I mean, that's the list I brought up, obviously, on the show, you know, that we had midweek, and a couple of guys on here have been in the preview and that stuff. Venom, Agni, thoughts, guys? Come on, you've been in the streamable one, that sort of stuff. How do you see it?
See, Okay, go ahead, Venom.
It's basically removing what we've seen from tier 7 and replacing it with what was before. So if you think back to around the King's Writ time, using things like splash armor, stuff like that, it's similar to that. To be honest, it's probably a pain to fix. You're taking everything from DPS to max damage, but it's not something that we haven't seen already. We were used to it before. It's just gonna basically be going back in time. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, so just remember, this is going to be enacted now on Tuesday. So the Tuesday update, this is happening. So stand by all the big alliances, because you're going to have a mental moment where someone's going to call in everything, and then they're going to think they're great and that sort of stuff, because everyone else's base is going to be a farm. You know, some people will call in their defense fleets, and some people will call in their attacking fleets. You know, so that'll be fun. I'm going defense first because I always do. I always like to look after my base. I think Snoopy's the same. I think he's more of a base man, to be honest. But yeah, it'll be interesting. There's going to be a lot of, as I said to the guys on the admin page tonight, our own TFC admin crew. Next week, the page is going to flare up a little bit. So it already has this week a little bit. It's got a little bit more. I suppose people are rubbing each other up the wrong way a little bit, to be honest. So there's a little bit of a higher sort of volume of displeasure, player against pleasure, player. Sorry. So it's, I think next week's going to be even more so, to be honest.
Say it, Mark. Butthurt.
Butthurt, yeah.
Say it as you see it.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of upset teddy bears. There'll be things going at the pram.
Just in humor, if you ask me, I've said like base attack fleet. No, I'm going to coin my gluts and make changes on them. If they don't work, then I'll just, probably go for a run or run to the bar. I think this transition is going to be very, very turbulent because, yes, as you said, top coiners, top alliances, coin things, changes will not work. They will lose their mind. It is a balance, and Venom said it. I couldn't say it better. It's going back to the basics.
Yeah,
that's exactly what Venom said, and that's what it is. It's going backward to the basics in a different way, with the parameters being set differently. You just need to get adjusted to it because we're used to a different style of hitting bases and a different way the damage is being dealt. That is going to change, and even if I know about it, it'll take me a little bit of time to adjust. So yeah, guys, you guys need to like wait out the adjustment, because say you get a lot of coins or you have a lot of coins, you coin the changes. No, they're not going to work immediately because you're still testing the waters, especially in direct damage. We're used to that in PvE. Now you will be dealing with that same kind of direct damage, incoming damage, and damage you're dealing in a PvP environment, which we are completely not used to. So if that's I think where people need to adjust. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for many people. Well, CS is going to get completely bombarded with tickets of people being butthurt and having meltdowns.
But go back at that before Venom cuts in there. Bear in mind what I said a minute ago. 2/3 of the population didn't even know that the set of consolidation was coming. What the hell is it going to be like on Tuesday? But all of a sudden they go out to hit a base, and all of a sudden their fleets get annihilated, or their base gets annihilated.
Go fishing.
Lose their minds.
Some people are going to go ballistic. They really are. They'll be rage quit central, I think, personally.
I think one key thing is information exchange. I think if whoever's listening up here, whoever's on the panel, whoever's in the chat, try to put forward this information you're getting from here with the slides, then with the forums, make posts, explain, like just putting many a times I've put in a link and saying forthcoming changes, and a lot of people have not even read it, and a few days later they've done the mistake on that because they've not clicked on the link. So I'm trying to be more trying to explain it better with trying to write it down and explaining in short bursts rather than putting a long text of messages which a huge amount of people do not have the patience to read through. Break it down, pass it forward.
The thing I found the hardest in the preview and that stuff was to unlearn what you've learned over the last 2 years. to take that out of your head. You know, the bypasses, the minimum bypasses, and that sort of stuff, and the minimum damage. You know, death of 1,000 cuts by certain weapon types, and to go back to raw damage, and then trying to think, right, well, raw damage is only mitigated now by deflection. So basically, 1,000 damage, 500 deflection, you're doing 500 damage. That's it. But it was really hard to think there's no minimum bypass, and that's sort of unthinking that bit was quite. Yeah, going back to King Ritz days and that stuff, it was quite difficult.
It's more than just that. It's reprogramming yourself to think, I don't just need this deflection. This deflection is going to get me a little bit,
but not everything. Yeah,
but not everything. And you're going to have to think a lot harder about: is this going to be splash related? Will I need to reduce that? What hulls will accompany other hulls to make the fleet in general be better instead of just this one ship that just trolls through bases? You need to put more thought into it. You need to be thinking, if I can get around this hull, I can bring a different hull in to tank, say, turrets. So I can ignore the turrets with one ship, make sure the guard gets killed, and then away you go with the other ship to take the turrets. It's more thought than just I've got 360 damage to worry about the whole time. It's going to be complicated for some people to understand.
Do you guys think it'll bring in more variety in base sitting?
I think initially, I feel sorry for anybody from a level 80. No, numbers don't matter, but in general terms, from the level 80 to a level 100, I feel sorry for them because a lot of people will be hitting down for the next few weeks. Some of the big alliances won't, and I also say the bigger players, not just alliances, but bigger players. There's a lot of people that are not tagged that are really good players, that sort of stuff, and still coin a lot, But a lot of people will be going, right, I normally hit him, and for some reason my base hitters aren't working, so I'm going to go down to this level instead because I know he's got nothing good in his, he hasn't got all the right items that set up and that sort of stuff, so I'm going to go and hit him. And they may still fail, and if they fail at that point, they're not even going to worry about trying to refit their ships. They're going to make a decision: do I walk or do I refit? And then you have to look at a cost analysis. Everyone's going to have to do that and go, some people in the bigger alliances then will be pressured into doing it because that's life in big alliances, and some people would just be like, this could be a turning point in my sort of BP career.
If you want a little bit of cost analysis, it's a 70% off. If that's for building, say, 10 hulls, so 5 for your base guard and then 5 for hitting.
Yeah, I'll find that on the thing actually. So I'll put that up now. So I was just going to come to that next. You just beat me to it.
If you ignore flagships, because flagships have a longer build time, you're about 2,500 coins just for the 10 ships.
Yes, there's quite a bit going on, as we said. So the Wrong Thinker little post is interesting. So here it is here. So working with the community. PvP isn't about you guys interacting with Kick's targets. It's about the community members interacting with each other, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so smoothing the transition. This is the bit I'm interested in. Okay. So it's the bullet points. With the release of refactor, temporary lowering, we're going to temporary lower, build, refit, resource costs, build, but not building, build. So building ships or building things, maybe, I don't know. Is it building things, refit things, or is it just ships only? I don't really know. There's nothing that says building, because you're going to have to probably change. We all know that the stats are, there's only, 4 turrets make a cluster now, and it's no longer 8 to get the maximum, I know it's gone up to 20 to 25%, or that's what it's been in the preview. So you might want to get several different turret types now, damage types, sorry, So that's something to think about. Where you're positioning your turrets as well. So you need to think about that. Where you having your levels, obviously, of your buildings to change your bubble pad because you've moved things around. Might have to change. And obviously then your fire supports are going to have to come off because only one impacts it and it doesn't stack with other things as well. So there's a lot to consider. And then if you can do all that, you need to then look at your guard as well. So there's a hell of a lot to do. And a lot of people will go, well, it's like as I said, Brave New World. That's the title of the show. There's a heck of a lot to consider, and it all needs to be, put into context of right. This is a volume of work to do on top of an event every weekend at the moment. it's you know, it's life as you know it, Jim. It's a lot, isn't it, to ask? I think personally.
I think it should it'll be difficult for people to set goals. Like, I'm giving it a month to make changes and see where I stand after that, and then take a call on going forward. A lot will not. They will just take the call that yes, I'm done, and they will scrap the base, or they'll not log in for a couple of months. That is the second option. Third option is take the hits or take the changes as they are, because it's not affecting your PvE part of the game. It's affecting the PvP, which is a choice. So of the three choices, which you choose is going to dictate how the game is going to go forward, because it's going to affect like just about everyone playing the game on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that might ease the transition for some of these people that are gonna get upset and get angry, not that they're having to pay for Kix's mistakes by having to pay to refit stuff, but the people that are upset when their bases are getting run over, is to provide people with maybe a 3 one-day abilities to buy a bubble for free and a 7-day to figure out what is going on in the game, because they haven't given us anything but broad brushstrokes to allow these players to come to an understanding of what is going on. Because right now, nobody that's not in the previews, and maybe even some of the people that are in the previews, don't understand what is about to happen. And that would provide a good transition period, because getting your base hit not only impacts your pride and ego and whatnot, but it impacts your ability to conduct PvE operations in the game. And that could upset a lot of players that join more recently even more, but provide some sort of buffer in there to provide them some modicum of safety, since there's going to be such radical changes that are outside of their control.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Welcome, Stacey. How are you? Not sure if you've got a microphone or not.
Muted.
Muted at the moment. You have to unmute yourself if you want to say something. While you work that out, I don't know, guys. What else do you think? I mean, this thing about here, we're locking out PvP holes from sniping PvE fleets. Doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, that's the gluts. Basically, gluts will then stop hitting shore fleets, but obviously there's still fang tubes out there and that sort of stuff. So that's half the problem, but it's not the total resolution, is it?
Well, it's not even just gluts. It's a missile storm cruiser. Anybody with a Conquer Hall can go and run over any shore fleet. And I know that the original idea, I'm not sure if it's changed, was just to make the PvE fleets immune. I'm not sure what their final decision was, because there's ways to build. I can build one Inferno Dragon that will just take out a whole fleet of Inferno Dragons for pretty much no damage by just putting, depth charges, Gatling guns.
Yeah, you're not building it for the target. You're building it for a fleet for fleet. Yeah, FEF.
Yeah. So it's a smaller band-aid than I think a lot of the players had hoped, because there was a lot of discussion when Just Mike was around as far as what the direction was forward, and he was, he didn't even like the idea, because the PvE, the PvE allowing to hit PvE, it still doesn't work. I mean, there's so many problems with that. Even if you made it class restricted, like my example with the dragon hitting another dragon. If I'm building a dragon to go out and hit fleets, it's pretty easy to do, and there's no real good way to defend against it and still be efficient in the target that your ship was intended for.
Yeah, no, agreed, mate. No, I agree. It's next week is going to be a rough week in BP. It really is. I can't say it hasn't had to happen. It has had to happen, and we already know now they've decided that they're not doing bounty this month, so there isn't going to be one. Bounty 16, which was going to be the whole store and that sort of stuff, that's been pushed back. No, that's not going to happen. I know there's something else coming in its place, and let's talk about that in a second. But at least there's not a bounty, because that would have been a complete mess. That would have been carnage, in fact. Because that would have been a case of the corner. I mean, the corner wins anyway, but that would have been a real tip of the balances. So At least that has gone out of the way, and the reduction on. I personally would have liked to see, like, things like fire supports, like they did previously. Anything that fits onto a warehouse and that sort of stuff, could have been changed for like free for the first couple of days, that sort of stuff. But they're reducing things by 70%. So hopefully, if it's a refit cost, that means there's less titanium as well. So you get a lot better, bang for your buck. So not everything's free in this game because they've got to keep the lights on. But it's not us that put ourselves in this situation. They took us down the, this 4.5 million deflection and all that sort of stuff, or bypass, figures that started getting absolutely crazy. And even then, they realised that, if we're going to bring in TR8, then where do we take it to? 10 million next and that sort of stuff. So it's got to be redrawn and bring things back in order. And as Venom said, it sort of takes you right back to 2 years ago now. And you've got to now unthink all the things that you've been sort of like trying to puzzle over. And somebody brought up on our page today when they put up this turret does this much and this turret does this much and this turret, so you need this much, bypass deflection and this much and this much. So to unthink all that and then start with some new ones. I mean, Paul Wayne, he's got his page to try and sort out, so when the figures actually finally come in next week, he's got an awful lot to try and work out to get his base damage calculators all working again and all that stuff on his, Ahoy Mahati page. So there's a hell of a lot of work to do, so, yeah, as he just posted there, it's all going to go wrong. His site will be shite for a few days, but don't shout at him. It's a fair dues. I took a whole half hour of video just for that sole purpose in the preview, just get a rough idea of how things are going to change. But until it goes final, and I'm sure they'll probably make some adjustments afterwards because it won't be perfect. It's bound not to be. But yeah. Anyway, let's have a look at BP next week. What do we got then? So obviously Monday's notes for the week 46. Wrong Thinker's going to have a little post apparently, which he already actually put out something already, but he's going to talk about obviously the refactor itself per se. The refactor actually kicks in itself on the Tuesday, and then we're going to the Forsaken mission, obviously week 2. Bounty's been cancelled, but there is something else, isn't there? And then they're going into BP next week again. So that's that. But calendar is the calendar adjustments. So. Yeah, refactor on the 13th. Let's say Bounty being cancelled. The Outpost 11 PvP update is interesting. And then this bringing home the bacon. Nick, you there?
I'm here.
Come on, mate.
Yeah. What do I dislike about that? Let's start.
Nine leaderboards?
Yeah. Can I just read it? It just says Thanksgiving. We're doing a special activity called Bringing Home the Bacon. This activity will reward Alliance people. It's gone off my screen, so I can't read it. But yeah, it's basically rewarding Alliance position holders, so the top alliances get better prizes or get the prizes. What the hell does everybody else do? Where do we go from here? Because we know what medals do. They're broken. They move them about amongst themselves. I'm trying not to swear here. I mean, Venom's on. He knows exactly how to do it because he does it. It's what they do.
What they do?
You're talking about manipulation, aren't you?
Yeah, manipulation, mate.
Yeah. So you're talking about the stacking up. I mean, this thing here. So this thing here basically is whatever. I mean, a large alliance that basically has got to get onto a leaderboard for whatever reason. So let's have a look at Bounty. So as I said, BPL, I think the alliance was. We were in Alpha World. There wasn't any of the big alliances there, so they held all 5 nexuses. So straight away, by the end of the event, they already had more points per player, even their lowest level player, than many of the low level players actually going out there to try and hit the real basic low level targets. So being an alliance does have an advantage. I get that, but that gulf between the don't haves and the haves gets bigger and bigger and internally. Now, I don't know what the prize this thing is going to be. Does it tell you what you're going to get apart from a ridiculous skin?
T8 Conqueror Hull.
So there's going to be a hull.
And it says there as on the leaderboards, from the leaderboards. Not from, you can get it from points, you can get it from the leaderboard. The T8 new Conqueror Hull from the leaderboards. Now that to me is...
It's not the way I read it.
Seething. Read it.
No, I have read it. I read that something is going to come from the Alliance leaderboards and individual leaderboards, and then there's also you're going to have points to spend on something else. And I think those are going to be the tier 8 prizes and the tier 7 stuff. I'm guessing that, with the bacon skin, I'm guessing that's going to be coming from these alliance leaderboards and not the tier 8 technology. The way I read through it,
it doesn't say enough. That's the point. If it was a bit like what was the FDF thing we used to do in the campaigns once a month, or the competitions. What was that called? Can't remember what it was. In the when we used to fight each other once a month. The hell was that called? Anyway, whatever it was.
Yeah.
What was it called? I've lost it. Anyway, it's still an icon up on the top left-hand corner, right-hand corner of your screen when you're in gameplay. But somebody will say it in chat in a minute. Anyway, the arena. Thank you very much, Mike. That's it. Yeah, in the arena. Now, that's the same sort of concept. You'd fight in the arena, and let's have a look at it. The arena sacked itself in the end because people were getting themselves into a low-level tier, and they were then obviously finding it easy because they could build a cracking fleet and that stuff and climb the tiers, and they get the best advance going through the tier systems. They get the most amount of points. And then you have other people then that would go into there, and be high level and that sort of stuff. And then, or they'd start late in the event, getting into a group that basically didn't do too well. So the game can be manipulated basically. Now bounty gets manipulated as well, and it definitely does. Just by looking at being game smart is one thing, but also taking advantage. Now, if this thing here is going to give top level alliances, certain prizes, so that locks a majority of the people out, because top level alliances, just to say there's 5 or 6, which there roughly is, and up to 100 people. So 500 people across the game are going to get whatever is in that prize pool thing. But if it's for a range, like it used to be an arena, so like people positioned from 100 to 250, get this prize, and people from 250 to this get this prize. So it could be, 1 skin, 3 skins, or 3 specials, or something like that. That's a little bit more flexible. I don't know yet because that's really not giving us enough information. I know it's not starts the 21st, but I do read it a little bit like Hefe. There are some things there that are going to be awarded to alliances, but I think there's also going to be some things that's going to be awarded to individuals. Now, is that individuals that are then not badged, i.e. not an alliance, or is that individuals that are in an alliance? So it's a double whammy, you get a double win, basically. And if they're going to get 2 items, does that mean that alliance is going to go and prep all their targets for them so they can get as maximum as they can so they can win it, which is then manipulation of the event, which is what Nick's on about. So there's lots of unknowns at the moment, but, alliances take, and quite savvy and quite rightly so, because, this is pay to play. Let's be honest. It's not free to play anymore. It's pay to win anyway, at least. They take the maximum advantage they can to promote their own self-worth. I get it. But manipulation is standard in the game now, and every alliance tries to get one or the other one. So if you can find a way of getting to do something on having the best badge, I mean, why would somebody go out on the last raid week again and get 3 billion points? There's absolutely no reason for it. There's not that many prizes, but people do it because they want to be on the top of that leaderboard. So I don't know. Nick, is that basically about it? That sort of thing? He's gone quiet.
Yeah, I couldn't find me on mute button. I was just on another page. Yes, that's it, mate. It's all about the manipulation. It is going to be there. Let's face it. I remember FAT, and all I saw then was folks that were banned that won. And why did they get banned? Well, because they weren't playing fair. So and now, okay, they might not be not playing so unfair, but there will be manipulation, like
there will be. I haven't found an event, that can't be manipulated one way or another. And this I already can see before. Just by the wording, the way it's written, can be manipulated. You could quite easily say if it's just by a person that's not in an alliance that's going to go win this item here. Simple answer is untag yourself. Get an alliance to help you out and that sort of stuff, and then tag yourself back up at the end. And then it's whatever the prize is, it gets absorbed back into an alliance against sort of stuff. So, and if it's just very individual, well, that's going to be somebody highly likely to be within an alliance already, that's getting assistance, or is just a massive corner. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, the one for the alliance total, just lock out prizes for people who drop tag. The same way they do it in bounty nexuses, where if they drop tag when the event starts, they're not getting the reward bonus.
Yeah,
That way, people aren't just going to be dropping their tag, hitting a load of bases, and then dumping a load of medals on their friends. It's just locking them out completely.
because that was half the problem with some of the earlier bounties, wasn't it? A lot of people said, well, come and join my alliance and that sort of stuff, because you just hook up on our nexus and that sort of stuff, and people then getting advantage of hooking up onto large people's, mates and that sort of stuff. I don't know. And I don't know if it's stuck and if they stay with those alliances. And if they did, then that's a good way to tease people into alliance if you want to, get the numbers up and that sort of stuff, I suppose. It's a dog-eat-dog game. Let's be honest about it. It really is. And unfortunately, because it's a dog-eat-dog game, there's underhandedness and there's a bit of naivety, but there's also a little bit of shrewdness in approach. So, you're gaming the game, but do you know what? If you're not breaking the rules, I don't know where that stands. It's somewhere in the middle ground to me.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not reading as much into this as other people. I don't see this as being related to medals. It could be, but I don't see it necessarily associated with base hitting or even potential cooperation. I mean, we had the Halloween event, which you really couldn't help anybody with, and it would just be the total alliance points. I mean, it's like I said, they've given us just enough to scare a lot of people in what's written there. And it could be something completely different than the way we're reading into it. I didn't read anything about hitting bases or medals or anything like that. I read it more as like, okay, maybe your alliance got the most of whatever it is, and maybe you get some freaking badge. I don't know. There's just not enough information there to make that, But I think we're jumping to too many assumptions, and as you know, I don't really know any more than what's written there. But hopefully, they make the right decision, and it's not what everybody seems to be thinking about it.
Okay, it's just that we all thought this month's fun event was going to be a fun event. It ended up being an extra mini raid. So I'm a bit. If they've given us a date, an event, and that sort of stuff, and some idea of some prizes, sounds to me like there's going to be another mini raid of some description. I'd like to be proven wrong, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I'm not saying the individual stuff that you buy with points will not be worth a lot. I'm just curious what the top 1,000 or the top, because the top whatever number gets the bacon skin for the dragon. I'm not sure what the alliance leader would get. I mean, if it's something silly, then I think everybody should be fine with it. If it's something like that, the Greta's Bacon Dragon or Bacon's Inferno Dragon, whatever it is, whatever that skin is, it's not changing the game in any way. And hopefully they've made the same decision with the Alliance leaderboard, and it's something that doesn't impact any the competition inside the game.
Can I play devil's advocate for a second?
Yeah, go on, mate.
Sure, go ahead.
I think they've left it open so that you can buy the new tier at Hull with points. So it's not just whoever has the biggest alliance wins. But I think for the thinking behind making it alliance prize is the top alliances with medals generally are there for a long time, and they're there because they're good at PvP, and sort of giving them not so much a reward but an easy way round getting the new ship. It's not that bad an idea. They've worked the hardest at PvP. I know there's people here in small alliances that have great knowledge of PvP and they're good at it, but in general, the bigger alliances near the top, all of them are putting a lot of effort in, and it as a reward, they do it for. I've seen the top alliances there, the top sort of 10 have been there for a long time. They're doing it for a long period of time, making it easier for them to get tier at Hull. What's the big problem? They're going to get it anyway. It's not like we're not going to get it. It's just making an easier pathway for a bigger group of people who've sat together as a group and done PvP as a group. It's not a terrible idea.
It's all it's the whole conundrum of the alliances when they first came in as well, sort of stuff. You know, we used to play as a well, initially as an individual, then we started playing as a sector, and it was sectors v sectors and that sort of stuff, and then it went to these alliances. You know, it is what it is, and you know, it's a dog eat dog game. So, you know, as I've said, you know, it's going to happen, and yeah, you're right, Venom. In some respects, you know, they are the top alliances are the top alliances. Birds of a feather flock together, sort of stuff, and you know, it's a bit like the playground scenario. You know, the bully group goes around battling all the people that are lesser than them. That's the nature of this game, you know, and then belittling them as well on comms. That's why BP survives. It's the comms. It's not the actual battling. That's where I look at it anyway. Battling's fun, but by berating somebody once you've beaten them, that's, I think, is the answer. To be honest, it always makes me smile. Comms is always the funniest thing sometimes when you read it, particularly world comms. And yeah, hats off to you, Kickside. Very clever thing bringing that back online, because it definitely did square things away when sector comms died off. You know, so and the amalgamation of the sectors has worked out massively. But let's see. As you know, Hefe said, it's early days yet. The problem is history repeats itself, and already the event I found, which I did or did not enjoy. The point is that it was an extra event which I wish didn't happen. It didn't need to happen, but hey. The fact is, there's going to be something. It'll be an event simply because Bounty's not on, and they need to bring in money. So it will cost you something, without a doubt, to get to the top. Which means then it's a corner's paradise again. And maybe that's right. Maybe if you're paying to play and that sort of stuff, and it's not free to play, you know, you pay to win, then maybe those people should get the hole first. I don't know. Let me know. You know, see what you think about it. If you don't like it, then play something else. I suppose that's the way to look at it. Right. Okay. We've gone past the hour by quite a considerable amount. What was I going to talk about? One thing quickly. Yes. One or two things, really. So, first of all, like I said, I sort of hinted at earlier on, people are getting a little bit personal against each other on our page and that sort of stuff. I don't know if Hefe's feeling the same thing, but there are camps of people. Okay, there are camps of people that think that this game should be free and you should just be able to play it and get on with it and then pick it up and put it down and do well. There are other people that think that by putting a cash investment into this game, you should get one up on everybody else and you should be ahead of everybody else, that sort of stuff. There are some people that think that being an alliance has no benefit to it whatsoever, and there are other people that think that being an alliance is the best thing since sliced bread, and that's where all the focus that Kickstarter should be putting it on in the game to get ahead is about alliances and the pay per brigade people as well. So it doesn't really matter, to be honest. The point is, for me, and this is the TFC show, okay, then, if you're going to come on the page, okay, you be respectful to each other. If you're not respectful, you just get booted. Simple as that. It's got a little bit heated over the last few days. I've spoken to the moderators, and we're going to tighten things up a little bit, because the last thing you want to do is come online in your own free time and then get berated in such a manner that actually you just gets offensive. So that's going to stop. I'll put a warning on the page, and you'll get an instant ban. Simple as that. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to entertain any single person that is basically disrespectful to another person. It's always been in our policy, so like it or lump it, you'll just get binned. I don't care who you are, it makes no difference whatsoever, and there's going to be no second chance. You'll just go. Second thing is, unfortunately today, we lost Ren from the TFC. Ren basically didn't like what happened recently in Kicksai. He spoke out about it, then he was obviously brought to task about it as well. That's one aspect, and the other aspect is not comfortable with where the game is at the moment. Okay, so he has basically turned around and said, thank you very much for now. He hasn't stopped altogether, hasn't rage quit and that sort of stuff. He's just said that he's not enjoying it at the moment, so all he's going to do basically is just park up his ships and then leave it for a while, see where things settle down, and he may or may not come back. If he comes back, it'll be welcomed and that sort of stuff, you know. But Ren has been a staunch, you know, advocate of mine. I've always helped him as best as possible with his videos and that sort of stuff and giving information. He's always helped me out, and when we've been in shows together, it's always been good fun. So I wish him all the best, and let's hope he comes back next year. We'll see, but I'm not sort of this time really sort of expecting that to happen. But hey, we'll see. I don't know. It's that time, 20 past the hour. Right, let's go across the thing. Agni, anything you want to close on, mate? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, well, not regarding the game, but regarding what you said, I think like the community, I'll agree with you. And it's a page that you guys control, moderate, and it gives out information, I think, to probably the whole community. They bank on you guys for information. I'm not on that page exactly for the simple thing that Mark said, because I do not rein my mouth in. I am pretty vocal and abusive, but I have a huge amount of respect for Mark. I confide in him for a lot of things, for advice, for sharing information. But yes, it's that simple thing. If you are on a page and you cannot respect the page, you need to leave, or you need to be booted. I chose to stay away from the page because my views conflict with some of your views in many ways and the way you guys do stuff. But that's the reason, it's a mutual respecting that I stay off the page. Yet I'm always around to help as I can. And I think it should be respected by everyone. Otherwise, well, door is open, get out.
Thank you, mate. Well said. Yeah, Agni and I actually do have quite a different opinion on many, many things and that sort of stuff. However, we're good friends, and we don't always see eye to eye and that sort of stuff, you know. And I'll say something like, "That's a pile of poo," or worse than that. However, you know, we still get on and just get on with it. So try and just be respectful. But thanks, buddy. Ozzy, what about you, mate?
No, I'm all good. I think the refactoring has been good. Everything seems to be all right, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, we're holding our breath for next week, aren't we? To be honest.
Oh, sorry. What I should have said was we'll have to see how it goes.
See how it goes. Yeah.
See how it goes.
Exactly that. Darren, what about you, mate? You still there?
I'm still here.
Anything you want to comment on, or anything we haven't picked up that you'd like to pick up on this for this?
No, I think it was a really good show. I'm glad I didn't know how to get on here before, but I'm glad I got to talk to you, Mark. I've been following all your stuff on the page for years. So
Cool, mate. It was good to have you on. It's nice.
thank you.
I'll finish with Hefe, which I normally do. Anyways, Nick, what about you, mate? Anything else that we've missed out, you think?
No, I'm sorry to see Ren go, obviously.
Yeah, me too.
Really good to like helping folks out. And you know, other than that, yeah, the consolidation's gone fine for me. I'm in a nice quiet sector, so that's good. Not been hit, that's even better. Maybe.
Till Tuesday.
No, to be fair, I like to get hit, and I've not been hit. But then, like a lot of folks know me, and they don't. You know, I've dumped a load of medals, so they don't hit me anyway. They don't want to lose 19 when they hit me.
Yeah. So, young lady, what about you? Is she still there? Is she fell asleep? She stepped away for a minute. Okay, I know she's got kids to look after as well. Venom, what about you, mate?
A couple of things.
Cool.
Again, sorry to see Ren go. He was a very big help to a huge amount of people. Very highly in both PvE and PvP, so he'll definitely be missed hugely. Secondly, yes, about the page, can people please be a little bit more kind to each other? And again, try and stay on topic to what the posts are about instead of going off on tangents and insulting each other. That's just a pain. I know for myself, I had stopped posting on TFC page a few months back. It was just pointless trying. People just commenting random stuff.
Yeah. Well, we discussed that, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah. Just stay on topic for things and be nice to each other, helpful. That's what it's there for, to help each other. And the other thing, were you on the last refactor test, Mark?
Yeah, I was, mate. Yeah.
Have they toned down the damage?
5%.
Only 5?
Not enough.
It's gotta be fun.
Yeah, it is. Next week's going to be a bit bonkers.
Please don't panic when things come out. There are a couple of videos out of base hitting, and you may see some hulls vanishing near instantly. Don't panic.
It's been picked up on today. Yeah. Some things got picked up on today. We've even gone back now, looked at tier 6 holes, tier 5 holes in defense and in attack and that sort of stuff, and highlight to them that once they get retro, they start getting a bit crazy. So hopefully they're going to look at that and address that. So,
I think in some of the surveys, a few of us had said just tune back the damage by about half, so your hulls don't die just as fast. So you're actually using them in a base instead of them just going poof.
I have to say, once you got used to it, the math is easier, a lot easier. You haven't got to be
Yeah.
a blinking, have a few degrees in, core math and that sort of stuff. It's back to much more, once you understand. The problem is, though, a lot of the blueprints, as you said earlier, have changed or will change. So it's not just a case of going, oh, yeah, I know that blueprint. You actually have to go back and read each one and then apply it, sort of stuff. So it's not quite as straightforward. So.
Yeah, from testing, at least on my end, it was. I find it a lot less thinking about direct numbers rather than you could go in, sort of throw things together rather quickly. You look at the hull, say, I need a little bit more of that, and then covering it with different specials and different armors, just so it balances it out with the deflection. So it's not just you're not just focused on deflection, you're focused on other things. But yeah, just don't panic, don't run out throwing coins at things and hoping it will work. Actually look at them, take your time. Then, if you are willing to, throw some coins at it, but don't just throw it and hope for the best. Hoping for the best doesn't generally work terribly well.
Mm-hmm.
Again, don't panic.
Yeah, very much so. Right, Hefe, mate.
Maybe we could keep some up for the after show, but I'm disappointed so far what I've seen that's been left out of the refactor. Because I think a lot of people don't participate in base hitting and PvP because of the ramifications associated with their PvE game. And from what I've seen, none of that has been addressed. Just a quick example: if you you go to bed, you get hit, you win. That person has 3 hours of damage. But if you wake up, go to work, and then come back the next day, I've had chances, times where I've lost 17 hours of build out of my Conqueror Hall and my Shipyard Hall. I'm at my normal Shipyard and my Conqueror, so I've lost 34 hours, even though I won. And then, the other issues associated with upgrades and whatnot, that wasn't addressed at all. I haven't seen anything that's been addressed associated with incorporating the fire supports, the everything else, in your stat blocks that would allow you to understand what you're supposed to do without third party or a spreadsheet. They haven't broken things down, as far as I know, into deflection based damage. Realizing this is a deflection environment, and we're still 8 years old with what we're being shown is still a resistance environment, and it doesn't make any sense. They've made certain changes, but I'm not sure that they've made the important changes that would be more inclusionary for other players in the community to participate in PvP and feel that it's good for their game. Because a lot of people have joined Battle Pirates after it became a PvE game with some PvP sideline. And I think those would have been the more important choices to make and put their efforts towards that, as opposed to, okay, we spent all this time basically to get rid of resistances and make it all deflection. And a deflection environment is not good for players that are trying to progress from level 50 or level 80 or whatever.
That's the crux, yeah.
Because the resistance, because you need to have the newest tech in order to be living in a deflection-based environment. So some of the things that were left out and just seem to be completely ignored, I'm not terribly happy with. And then, and the obvious one of what they did address is like, okay, well, we have defenders. They're supposed to defend our base or ships. They don't move, and now we've made the attackers have a longer range than the defenders. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but it's a smaller thing. It's some of the larger picture issues that I felt they missed with the refactor.
Yeah, because the old days it was, and just thinking back to, the toilet and all that sort of stuff, and it was a case of the defender hull, whilst it wasn't massively overpowered and that sort of stuff, at least it struck the attacker first. And now it's the way around. The attacker can go in and chip away at the defending hull. The problem is now, because of that, people are putting attacking hulls in defense, and then that brings it a whole series of issues. But let's hope in T8 that goes away and we start getting a bit more balance. Just give them equal bloody range, that sort of stuff. And then you can just go, well, this one needs to be a little bit stronger because there's 5 coming in against it and that sort of stuff, Anyway, it is what it is. We'll see where they take it. God knows what they do.
I have one more thing.
Go on, mate.
Deflections on buildings.
The lack of.
When I saw it on the test, I facepalmed hard, and then when I actually tested it, I facepalmed harder.
Paper OPs.
Your buildings just vanish, and it's near to impossible to balance it.
I used up every bit of base power I had just trying to put on armors and make things stronger, and it made no freaking difference whatsoever. I took my guard feet out so someone could come and hit me, and my building's just like blip gone. That was it.
Yeah.
So they need to work on that.
Because they had this whole emphasis of being able to prep and kill a base within 5 minutes, based on, I'm assuming that's the reason it's there. But the reason the players had that complaint was not over normal base hitting. This was associated with bounty.
Yeah.
So that solution should have been associated with decreasing the cost of the prizes or increasing the value of the economy in the game. So there was more points to be had, or decreasing the cost of the prizes, because I don't think this, with the age group of this game, the real fast action, everything blowing up all the time, I don't really think it's their thing, where portals and outposts get one shot. That's not. I don't think that's the player base that I'm familiar with.
Honestly, I didn't see anything wrong with base defenses
As it was,
other than in Bounty, where you'd just be pinging off the outpost. But a part of the problem with the Bounty defenses was down to everyone having to run high DPS and not high damage.
And not high damage, yeah. And now we don't have that.
Yeah. So with one, they've taken it away, but then they've double fixed it, which makes it worse of a fix.
And in Bounty, you could have quite easily taken off that extra charge. The 75% one, just don't have that. Take that one away.
Yeah. So I think it's a really silly idea. They should have just left the defenses alone.
Well, do you know what? We will have to see what comes next week, because obviously previews are, it's all subject to change, and they, even on the preview stream that I had to run, that's one of the first lines I had to come out with was, you can stream it, but you must say it's subject to change. So, hey ho, yes, that's good. Right. I think that's it for the night, to be honest. I think we'll leave literally as we started, and we'll just, like I say, mention that obviously Armistice, it's the 11th tomorrow, and it is the 100th anniversary of the end of the First World War. So have a moment at 11 o'clock, wherever it is. It's 11 o'clock UK time, but wherever you are in your time zone, that sort of stuff. And it was a global event. Everybody. I don't think there's a single country that wasn't affected, to be honest. From history, and it certainly was a defining moment. So, have a period of reflection tomorrow, and be thankful that you are where you are today, because they gave theirs, so you can have yours. Right. On that note, I will say good night, and thanks all, and take care. And it was nice to see you inside by chat there, Ren. Thanks for popping in, buddy. Take care all. Good night.
And TSM was there.
Virtually. Good night.
Night,
Mark.